beginning orchestra of Simonds. Let's keep that applause going for the experienced orchestra of Simonds. The Ionian Orchestra from Castillero. And your Chamber Orchestra from Castillero. Tonight we have 230 musicians combined to perform for you. We call this concert Past, Present, and Future. Our past are our chamber students who are headed off to high schools to bring Castillero out into the world, to bring the focus and the diligence, the kindness and care that we cultivate here in our orchestra culture, to bring it to classrooms beyond the walls of Castillero. And they're here to mentor the experienced students who are working their way up to Castillero. And then we have our present, the Ionian Orchestra, that's taking all of the jobs that those 8th graders are leaving very well taken care of, and the Ionian Orchestra fills all of those roles. They become the mentors in the upper orchestras, whether that's Indigo or Avant, and they are what Castillero Orchestra is. And then of course, we have our future. The wonderful students from Simonds Elementary, our beginning and experienced orchestras, here all to perform for you. One more round for all of these great kids. Now, I am fully aware that the sight lines here in the indoor commons are not exactly like Carnegie Hall. The cement pillars are a nice touch for viewership. But this is our home, and it's a place where a lot of great concerts and memories are made. It's not necessarily where you are, it's the people you're with. And it's always so nice to be with you in our communities. And we especially love the wonderful connection between Simonds Elementary and Castillero Middle School, two dynamic ecosystems that are just gems in our San Jose Unified community, and I'm so privileged to work with the Simonds Orchestras and the Simonds parents and all the wonderful teachers at Simonds, and we're certainly all considering the future of Simonds as some place that belongs in this district and a place that certainly represents everything this district has the possibility for. My children, having gone to Simonds and then through Castillero and headed to Pioneer next year, really thrilled with the schools in this area and how connected we all feel. We want places where our students are happy, where they are being pushed, where they're being supported, and that's what these school sites are. Here at Castillero, you get to see that today. We have the Simonds students buddied up with Castillero students, and they're working as their buddies and as their mentors, and there's a few reasons we do this. One, it's nice to get one-on-one instruction. Over the next few weeks, everyone will just get a lot of information about summertime and what we can do to help these students learn more on their own. One of them is to have lessons, and sometimes we can afford private lessons with professionals, sometimes we get students from college, and sometimes we have high school volunteers or high schoolers that are trying to earn a little money but don't have the same sort of expense as maybe a professional musician would, and it's a way for the students to give back for all that they've been given and for our youngsters to have some guided practice, because in our household, guided practice isn't really a problem as long as my children are willing, because when my kid's playing viola, I know the viola. When my kid's playing cello, I know the cello. When my kid's doing pre-calculus, I call Jason. And he helps them. It's hard to help them practice when they're young and to make sure that they have really good practice habits, and so it's nice to have a buddy or someone either from Castillero or from the high school that can help them. So you'll see that. So there's one thing, like, wow, I learned so much, I sat next to my buddy, and now this makes sense, and that's a pretty special thing. The other reason is because a lot of these Ionian students are 6th graders, which means that they'll be 8th graders when your 4th graders are here at Castillero, and it'll be one more person where that Simonds kid feels familiar here at Castillero, sees a friend, sees someone that's like, oh yeah, when I went to Castillero, there was this really nice kid, Amira. There was this really nice kid, Destiny. And they sat next to me, and that really helps the transition to middle school a lot. So that's what this concert is about. It's about sharing, it's about supporting, it's about loving what we have currently, being proud of what they're about to give to the world, and excited about our future. The last time you saw us, we were playing one note at a time. The first selection you're going to hear is a piece called Waterfall. It features our Ionian and beginning orchestra with 2-note slurs. When we finish this, you get to practice clapping ridiculously loud. single day for basically an hour, and many of them are in multiple electives here, where they are in the Indigo Orchestra and the Zero Period Orchestra, so they accelerate their learning considerably once they come to Castillero. Really impressive what they've been able to do with 2 sessions a week after school. After a long day, these wonderful beginners come in with so much energy and excitement, and they're always ready to learn. This next selection features 3 note slurs and the entire D major scale. This is French folk song. As they grow, they have to learn lots of new rhythms. They have to learn how to play the rhythms, how to manage their bow during those rhythms, and also how to count those rhythms. This next piece is called Ba Ba Black Sheep, and it's the first time that they're dealing with quarter notes and eighth notes. We do a lot of silly things to try and help them to remember these new rhythms. So if they know my name very, very well, it's because of this particular piece. This is Ba Ba Black Sheep. You've probably all seen the Strictly Strings books come out when they practice, and you have the practice links that I send home in the emails for the beginning orchestra at Castillero, before they were called Ionian. Some of the parents are like, well, we've already heard these pieces, and once again, kind of have to think about how much instruction Simonds has had. If they've had 2 lessons per week since Labor Day, that's about 30 lessons or so. Since August, the Castillero students have had 120 lessons. So there's an acceleration to how much they learn, and right now our Castillero students are modeling really great posture, really great sound, and supporting these youngsters as they figure out how to hold these instruments and make sound. This next piece we did not have ready for the winter concert, and about 13.7 billion years ago there was a big bang, and also my buddy Bowman was born, and so we're going to dedicate this next selection to him. This is Mr. Bowman's theme song. Selection featured all the things that they've learned with eighth notes and quarter notes, but also more of their strings. Something that we do in our beginning class is we have to be able to read all the notes on our C, G, D, A, and E string If they can read all the notes, I can move them to the experienced orchestra next year. If they can't read the notes, we just do beginning again for a year, and that's okay. Everyone develops at different times. So if your student is, or your child is practicing reading note names at home and doing the music theory links, that helps them to get ready for the next level. On page 27, they had to learn open G, first finger A, B, and C, all new notes. This next selection is a new skill again. It's called Irish Jig, and we have two different parts. We have melody and harmony. The Ionian students are supporting our Simonds beginners by playing melody, and then our Ionian orchestra that don't have Simonds buddies are playing the harmony. Instruments up. 1, 2, 3, ready, set. Okay, we have two more selections which have multiple parts. One of the things we have to do is be able to play with the folks around us, regardless of what rhythms they have. And we're going to play two pieces for you. One, you got to see in the winter concert with just Ionian. We are now also going to be adding our Simonds beginners. This is a big deal. Now, earlier when we rehearsed this, it was lighter outside. Can you raise your hand if you can see my hands? Great, that's important. We're going to be playing Russian music box all together with our Simonds beginners, our Castillero Ionian, and our Castillero Chamber. Now, some of these kids are about 200 feet away from each other, and so I'm the common denominator. We talk a lot about science in orchestra and how sound waves work and how we pull sound from the instrument. The coefficient of friction comes in quite a bit. The weight and speed of the bow and the approximation to the contact point towards the bridge and where the tension increases. For this sort of space, what they've been learning today is how to manage all this information with their eyes when the slowness of the sound waves is hitting their ears at a different time that they see my hands. So this is a really great experience, and the students in the very back have been placed there because over the last several days I've been watching them watch me, and so because they watch really well, I can trust them to be the furthest away. So today we are going to play Russian music box with about 180 youngsters who are all watching intently. Cello viola. Assemble. final selection for this combination of pieces. This is Huevos Rancheros. And you might have heard a little bit of percussion on that last song. Today you'll be hearing some drums throughout, and we didn't introduce him yet. This is Sean Krijnen on the drums. Cello bass. 1, 2, cello bass, ready. Next up, we're going to have our Chamber Orchestra play, and to show you where these students are headed. So just a few short years ago, the students that you see here were beginners. How many of you were beginners just a year ago? There's a couple people who were beginners a year ago. 1 year ago, they started with hot cross buns. Okay? Chamber kids, 2 years ago, you were 6th graders and started. Can you raise your hand if you started at Simonds? Yeah, look at all these Simonds kids. And then anybody that started before they were 11. Can you raise your hand before 11? 10-year-old and younger? Yeah, there's a couple of Julia and Hayden. Great. This is one of the great things about Castillero is that the schedules are designed to support your child whatever level they're at. So it's not just by grade, it's by what they're able to contribute. And our admin is so supportive that they'll change schedules at the semester to help them with move-ups. So if they started in beginning in 6th grade, they move up to Indigo at the semester in the middle. They're really, really accommodating, really, really helpful, and we haven't thanked them yet. They're at every event. Every event. I think they're here probably somewhere between 10 to 14 hours per day, and a lot of times doing work on the weekend. They do a lot for Castillero. We have Miss Silva, Mr. Jones, and Miss Campbell, our principal. Please give them a big round of applause. She understands the value of the arts and how it impacts our entire school and how we're connected together. She understands the power of community and that we want places where, once again, we feel that our kids are safe and taken care of and pushed and supported and all the things that you would hope as a parent and why I chose this school for my own kiddo. Next up, this is called Vanishing Pointe, and it starts very, very, very soft. so soft that anybody that moves in the auditorium will get more attention than the chamber orchestra. So, I don't recommend holding your breath because it is over 4 minutes. But we're going to be very still for these openings so that we can see if we can hear these incredible dynamics. This is Vanishing Pointe, featuring 3 soloists, Ayush, Amelia, and Zoe, and then you'll hear a little cello from Jocelyn in the middle. Vanishing Pointe by Richard Meyer. one of the really fun things, of course, that we do here with the orchestra program, we do all sorts of fun things. We just had the Fry Street Quartet here. They've won all the biggest chamber music awards on the planet. We had chamber music by the Whit Bay with musicians from Juilliard and Eastman and Curtis Institute. And we have Dr. Kim coming from Cornell. We have all sorts of, we had Mads Tolling, two-time Grammy winner, performing with us back in January. And then, of course, we have our big trip to LA where we perform on the Disney stages. We do recording soundtracks and backstage Disney. And then we also have college workshops. And so we have a whole concert set for our Disney students. And they're going to play one more piece for you. The Experience kids got excited because they're almost up. Good job, Experience. We're going to Disney. Yeah, Disney seating. And we have so much great music, we couldn't choose one, so we thought we'd do it with an applausometer from you. So don't clap yet. Here are your choices. We're going to give you three. One is John Williams' trilogy, which is Star Wars music, Jurassic Park, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Well, that's one. Another one is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. The third option is How Far We'll Go by Moana. Okay, those are our three options. Whichever one gets the most applause, that's the one we'll play for you tonight. And then if you want to travel down to LA, you can see the whole show. So those are our three options, okay? All right, option one, John Williams trilogy, Star Wars, etc. Okay, Pirates of the Caribbean. Wow, that movie came out in 2005. Okay, great. And then, How Far I'll Go from Moana.
I think you're playing all of them, buddy.
Boy, that's really hard to tell. We need an official applause on here, Miss Campbell. Can we put that in the budget? Okay, she'll take it. Okay, school site council, we'll talk about it. Okay, so we have two in the top for sure. We have Moana and Pirates. So make sure that your vote counts. Ready? This is for Pirates of the Caribbean. Seemed enthusiastic. And then Moana. I think we have to go Pirates. I think. doing such a nice job on stage. Thank you for being good listeners and experienced. Way to be so patient. Arriving a little bit before 5 p.m., rehearsing, working with your buddies. An hour later, nice job. Way to focus. Way to be engaged. We have 2 selections for you from the Experienced Orchestra. First one's called Burst. Second one's called Wipeout. But while they're changing spots, I'd like to also just thank all my colleagues who are here tonight. We have lots and lots of teachers who help out every single day, and they love working with the orchestras, and we have several of them here. For our Castillero teachers, give me a big round of applause for Castillero teachers. And then, of course, I want to make sure we thank all the parents that help, and it's led by our orchestra rep, which is Miss Sonia, and she's also the rep for SMTF. Tons of work done at Simonds, tons of work done here at Castillero. She's always looking for more people who really just want to be involved with something exciting and interesting. You can see how great the kids are. You can see the product that you're contributing to. So we love when we have parent volunteers, and the more the merrier. And a big round of applause for Miss Sonia. And as you might have seen while this was going through, we have some students from beginning who have joined our experienced group because they've been so focused and practicing so much. We of course want to see all of our beginners join Experienced in the fall, but we've had a few that have joined us here, and boy, they have done a lot of work. So could you please introduce to the stage, for the first time, our Experienced Orchestra. try and combine everybody together. So this is all of our beginners, all of our Ionian, all of our chamber, all of our experienced. This is a piece called Dragonhunter. Now, Castillero parents at the mega concert at Lincoln High School, back in October, your Ionian students were just beginners and they were playing the simplified part. Here, a few months later, they're playing the advanced part. So we're really excited for them to share. Our beginners from Simonds are now playing that beginning part, and soon we'll be playing the advanced part. And our chamber kids are going back in time and remembering when they learned these pieces, as they look backwards to the past and where they started into the future for where they're going to go. What a great group of young people on this stage. This is Dragonhunter. think we can say without a doubt these are thriving communities. Look at all the folks out here tonight on a Friday supporting their kids, teachers, principals, administration. These are communities we care about. These are communities we love. And I certainly hope to see this going for many, many, many years as we celebrate years of music and the impact of arts in our education system and find dynamic ways to raise these young people who are already doing so much. I get to teach all day long, so I don't really have to live in headlines because every hour of every day I'm basically in front of someone who looks at the world like it has lots of possibility and that's a nice way to look at the world. So thank you for sharing in that vision of what's possible, as opposed to being told what's not, and finding solutions that serve everybody. Let's have one more round of applause for these terrific young people.